This woman was a concubine in the ancient Egyptian pharaoh's harem. Ankh-Su-Naaman. She secretly met Imhotep behind the pharaoh's back. Unexpectedly, this day, the pharaoh returned to the palace early ahead of schedule. Although Ankh-Su-Naaman was prepared, lipstick rubbed off her arm, still revealed her affair to the pharaoh. Imhotep could only fight the pharaoh together with her. Their teamwork killed the pharaoh. To cover Imhotep's escape, Ankh-Su-Naaman decisively chose suicide. To resurrect his beloved, Imhotep dared to violate taboos by breaking into the pharaoh's tomb to steal the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead contained resurrection spells, capable of bringing the dead back to life. As the incantation echoed, movement stirred in the darkness ahead. Soon a spirit form gathered and rushed toward Ankh-Su-Naaman's corpse, as the spirit merged with her body during the ritual. Tomb guardians arrived and interrupted the ceremony. Ankh-Su-Naaman faced death again after being resurrected. This time Imhotep committed an unforgivable crime. All involved in the plot were turned into mummies. The mastermind Imhotep received the curse of the Hamdi, the cruelest punishment in ancient Egypt, and the most dreadful execution. Considered so vile, it had never been carried out before. The tongue was first cut off, his entire body wrapped in bandages and placed in a sarcophagus. Then scarab beetles fed on him, Imhotep with his tongue removed, but only wail in endless terror. This punishment was banned not for its cruelty, but because souls receiving it would never find eternal rest. If released, it would bring disaster to the world. Thus, he had to be buried deep beneath a statue of Anubis, the god of death. Imprisoned him forever, entombed in darkness. 1,000 years passed. The key to the sarcophagus was lost among the people. Evelyn, a woman skilled in archaeology, swiftly deciphered its secrets, finding the map to Hamunaptra, city of the dead. Archaeological exploration was Evelyn's lifelong dream. This opportunity excited her. But the librarian confiscated the map. Reluctantly, Evelyn and her brother Jonathan sought the key's original owner, Rick. Rick said he obtained the key in the city of the dead, but was driven back by local tribesmen. To reach the city of the dead, they must rescue him first. Yet his execution was imminent. In desperation, Evelyn told the warden. Rick knew the pharaoh's tomb location, with countless treasures inside. The warden released Rick, condition being he joins their treasure hunt. After a long journey, they reached their destination. But they weren't the only ones there. Rick's old friend Benny arrived simultaneously, seeking the royal tombs too. The group rushed forward together. Evelyn examined the Anubis statue, using its reflective surface. She felt this could be useful. Indeed, inside the ancient buried city, a reflection pierced the darkness. But soon after entry, the two groups met again. Fighting seemed unwise there. They negotiated terms, planning their route when suddenly, without warning, loud crashing sound echoed. Stone coffin fell from above. At that moment, the warden discovered something nearby. Blue mirrors moving constantly. But he failed to grasp that danger always walks with opportunity. One scarab stirred restlessly upon hitting the ground. Then a sacred scarab burrowed out from it. Its sharp mandibles pierced through his boot and crawled inside. Piercing scream followed. He frantically tore open his shirt, discovering the creature tunneling through his body, inching steadily toward his skull. Overwhelmed by excruciating pain, he smashed his head into the wall, dying instantly. Others stared at the inexplicable scene. But the expedition pressed onward. Evelyn noticed familiar grooves on the sarcophagus. Quickly retrieving the key, she found a perfect fit. He eagerly twisted the mechanism. The sarcophagus lid swung open as a mummy suddenly jolted upright. Eerily enough, this millennium's-old corpse appeared unnaturally fresh. Scratch marks indicated the entombed died violently, placed inside alive, enduring torment. Meanwhile, Benny's team skirted danger. They pried open a relief carving on stone, instantly unleashing corrosive acid. 3 men desiccated instantly. Still, they found something, just hidden within the wall. As they retrieved it, an icy gust swept through, chilling everyone to the bone. Just before opening it, their archaeologist read, open this and suffer accursed death." Benny fled immediately, but dared the curse. Great fortunes come with great risks. They couldn't resist temptation. Opened the box. Inside lay a black metal key. Archaeologists found bloodstains. This was the priceless artifact from the legend of the Book of the Dead. But the tome was locked by a mechanism. Couldn't be opened. Evelyn saw an indentation on the book. Late at night while everyone slept, she secretly took the book. It fit perfectly into the sarcophagus groove. The book opened. Chill swept through instantly. Neither paid attention. They found ancient Egyptian script covering it. This was Evelyn's area of expertise. So, she pointed at the book and recited each word. Unexpectedly, this was the incantation to resurrect the mummy. And this mummy was Imhotep, sealed millennia ago by scarab curse. Then, countless scarabs swarmed from all directions. So numerous, they made your skin crawl. Everyone fled underground. Found Imhotep had risen. He gouged out the explorer's eyes and tongue, temporarily regaining sight and speech. Meanwhile Rick's group encountered a swarm of scarabs deep inside, their numbers suffocating. Single moment meant mangled flesh. The three fled desperately, finally escaping by leaping onto nearby stones, thinking they were safe. But the swarm returned, drawn by someone else. That person merely slipped, and paid with their life. Young Evelyn stumbled backward in terror, accidentally triggering a trap and falling through, landing exactly where Imhotep's mummy rested. But Imhotep had taken the eyes of someone severely nearsighted. He mistook Evelyn for his lover from a millennium ago. At this critical moment, Rick rushed in to save her. Imhotep roared with fury. Rick didn't back down, and immediately shot him down. Yet right after they left, the mummy stood up completely unharmed. Then, the mummy wandered around, and encountered Jonathan. He got so scared he blurted out in Chinese, meaning "God protect me," as Benny rapidly switched languages. He finally spoke ancient Egyptian. The mummy understood him. Rick's group hurriedly escaped the tomb, thinking they were safe. Unexpectedly, the mummy pursued them outside. Benny revealed that the canopic jar with the stolen eyes. It was the key to unlock the chest. For people had opened that chest earlier. The mummy would fully regenerate by consuming those four. Suddenly, flaming rain poured from the sky, creating chaos. Sign of apocalyptic doom. Screams echoed through the chaos. Rick and Evelyn went to investigate, finding only a corpse. Nearby, the mummy grew more complete after feeding on flesh. Rick fired multiple shots, but they were useless. The mummy thrust him away, sending Rick flying meters back. Then, the mummy spotted Evelyn, who came with Rick. Just as it prepared to strike, cat's meow sounded nearby, terrifying the mummy into panic. It instantly transformed into dust, and vanished. From the curator we learned the cat is actually the underworld protector. As long as the mummy hasn't fully regained its human form, this cat remains its greatest threat. The reason it relentlessly pursued Evelyn was likely to use her as a ritual offering to complete its resurrection. It was said that if Imhotep fully revived, the entire world could be plunged into darkness. The urgent task was finding a way to destroy this resurrected mummy. For safety reasons, we needed to protect Evelyn first. Rick first tracked down Benny, but Benny was just a minor henchman, and knew very little. Suddenly a scream came from downstairs. Benny used the distraction to jump out the window with Rick and the assistant. Looking outside, they saw that archaeologist who took the Book of the Dead drained to a husk. The book fell into the mummy's hands. At this moment, the mummy not only gained more flesh, but its strength returned completely. It could even wield dark spells now. Anyone infested by its beetles became its mindless puppet. Meanwhile, the other two guards watching over Evelyn turned traitor. One went downstairs supposedly for coffee. As soon as he left, a whirlwind of sand blew in through the window. The remaining guard tried to fight back, but was instantly shot. The mummy almost reached its full monstrous form. It threw a staff into the adjacent room, then dissolved into sand, and flowed through the keyhole into Evelyn's room while she slept. She remained unaware a monstrous being was targeting her. Luckily Rick arrived just in time. This time he brought a cat, blocking him. The mummy, scared witless at the sight of the cat, immediately turned to sand and fled. But the defeated mummy used dark curses, mobilizing all city residents to return, blocking the museum entrance where our heroes were. At that moment, Evelyn discovered an ancient Egyptian artifact within the museum, actually divided into opposing forces. Beyond the Book of the Dead, existed a counterpart, the Book of the Living. Finding this forbidden text could counter the mummy resurrected by the Book of the Dead. With no time to lose, they immediately fled through the back door, racing toward the pharaoh's tomb again, seeking the Book of the Living, but enemies ambushed them behind obstacles. Before going far they got surrounded again. No choice, they had to force through. In the chaos, the last shooter was dragged off by minions, completing the mummy's final missing flesh. However, Rick and team failed to escape layered defenses. The mummy regained full form as Imhotep, completely revived. Now even protective amulets were useless. Capturing Evelyn, Imhotep could perform the ritual again to resurrect Anxunamun. Evelyn chose sacrifice, deciding to trade herself for others' survival. But Imhotep broke his promise immediately after leaving. He ordered minions to kill innocents. Luckily Rick discovered minions' weakness in underground pipes. He triggered an alarm directing everyone to flee. The curator, trying to buy time, got overwhelmed by minion hordes. Now, Imhotep wielded millennia of power. Could fly. He transformed into sand and swept Benny and Evelyn away in mere minutes. But Rick and his crew found driving too slow to catch up. So, he contacted his old friend Winston and boarded his private plane to follow, only to be spotted by Imhotep near the pharaoh's tomb upon arrival. Imhotep immediately commanded all ground sand to surge upward, forming a whirlwind-like storm attacking the plane. The swirling sand drew a massive human face in the sky. Controlled by Imhotep, it opened a gaping maw. The sand dragon engulfed the whole plane instantly. To save Rick and Evelyn, he forced back nausea, and charged straight at Imhotep. Luckily, a plane wobbled and crashed nearby at that moment, distracting Imhotep from pursuit. He hurried Evelyn toward the tomb instead. Meanwhile, Rick's group had entered the burial chamber. Then, Jonathan spotted scarabs carved on the wall. He pried one off like treasuring gold. But the scarab burst out the next second, burrowing into his arm instantly. Rick tore open Jonathan's shirt without delay, grabbed his dagger swiftly, and dug the insect out, barely saving Jonathan's life. However, the gunshot drew Imhotep's attention. He grabbed a handful of dust, blew gently, and the humanoid carvings on stone walls came to life moments later. But no. How are your cat? Elsewhere, Rick followed the mummy into a chamber filled with funerary artifacts. Gold piled like mountains here. Taking even one piece would set you up for life? As the group was stunned speechless, sounds suddenly came from behind. The mummies resurrected by Imhotep emerged from the ground. Without hesitation, they opened fire with heavy weapons. That's right. Mummies were blown to pieces. But they were undead spirits. Even with severed limbs, they kept coming relentlessly. They fought while retreating, finally finding the statue of the sun god. And as expected, the Book of Ammonius Ra lay beneath it. One companion decided to draw fire, buying time for the other two. Just as Evelyn had predicted, the Book of Ammonius Ra was indeed there. Meanwhile, Evelyn woke up at that moment, but was instantly terrified by rats scurrying nearby. More frightening still, mummy lay beside her. Then, Imhotep ascended the altar carrying the Book of the Dead. As the incantations echoed, Anxunamun's soul was pulled back from the underworld. The summoning ritual neared completion. Jonathan burst in, distracting Imhotep with the Book of Ammonius Ra. Rick seized the chance, charging the altar with a golden sword. But many mummies guarded the altar. Rick swung the sacred blade, smashing approaching mummies. He punched one, sending another mummy spinning wildly, finally defeating it. As he prepared to sever Evelyn's other chain, severed limbs dragged Rick down. The sacred sword fell out of reach. At that moment, another mummy appears, lifting a stone slab to crush him. Just as he's trapped between choices, tenacious severed hand crawls over. Rick sees it and grabs hold. He snatches it up, wielding the severed hand like a sword, striking the slab-wielding mummy. Suddenly, Jonathan recites from the Book of the Living. On its cover, he nervously chants the incantation Mudukas. Then armored tomb guardians march out in disciplined formation. Once they take position, Jonathan realizes he doesn't recall the next lines. Imhotep seizes the moment. Issuing a kill order in ancient Egyptian, the guards charge at Rick. Rick turns and flees, pursued relentlessly by the guardians. Ankh-Sunaemon's spirit needs only a sacrifice. To fully resurrect, Evelyn also faces imminent death. She tells her brother to describe unfamiliar symbols for her to decode. Rick finds himself cornered by mummies. With no escape, he fights desperately, but remains hopelessly outnumbered. At the critical moment, guided by Evelyn's prompts, Jonathan speaks the next line. The resourceful protagonist barely escapes doom. Immediately after, the tomb guardians reform ranks, launching an assault toward Ankh-Sunaemon. Poor Ankh-Sunaemon dies. This marks the third death. Imhotep nearly loses his mind. Rick is now truly trapped. Blinded by rage, he completely misses Evelyn opening the treasure box nearby. Just as Rick was about to be swallowed, Evelyn finally found the spell specifically for the mummy. As the spell landed, a chariot from the netherworld came rushing, passing through Imhotep's body. It dragged his sorceress soul back to the netherworld. Though Imhotep did not die immediately, his injury would last a millennium. All his magic powers vanished, but he felt long-forgotten agony. Falling into the frigid dark pool briefly, instantly turned to stone within the obsidian walls. Meanwhile elsewhere, a henchman had already seized the chaos of battle, and stealthily discovered after several trips, exhausted from exertion, hung 2 sacks of gold on a protruding pillar to rest. Unexpectedly, this pillar was the tomb's sealing mechanism. Stone doors began sliding shut one by one. Rick and the others sensed danger, immediately rushed toward the exit. During their frantic dash, the sun diamond slipped loose behind them. Only after realizing did Benny react. But it was too late. Still, he got his wish fulfilled. Not just surrounded by mountains of treasure, but also accompanied by swarms of sacred scarabs, to share his remaining moments. After Rick's trio escaped, they watched the entire pharaoh's tomb vanish beneath the sands. Before they could reflect, sudden large hand appearing took them completely by surprise. It was their companion who earlier lured the mummy away. Eddie had also escaped. After brief farewells, Rick and the siblings mounted camels, beginning their journey home, though none